SABC News senior reporter Canny Maphanga has been following those proceedings. We'll just get her information and just in terms of a wrap from her end, how important this testimony was, just talking about the kind of leadership at the time at the city of Ekurhuleni under the retired city manager of the time, Dr. Imogen Mashazi. Canny, you've been monitoring these developments, of course. How important and explosive was the testimony by Xolani Nciza? I mean, he also went to great detail in terms of just how protected Brigadier Muanazi was, and also how, you know, anyone in the challenge around the circle of Dr. Imogen Mashazi could not be challenged at all in terms of the decisions that were made during her tenure.
Indeed. Good afternoon to you, Nati, and to the viewers at home. We've just seen Mr. Nciza, who is the former employee relations head at the city of Ekurhuleni. He would have been the person that would have initiated the, I guess, the disciplinary proceedings, or signed off on the initiation of those disciplinary proceedings against Brigadier Julius Muanazi. There are several red flags that he has highlighted to inform the commission as to how they reached the conclusion that this particular individual needed to be on suspension pending the investigation or probe into very serious allegations which he described as horror tales, which include evidence we've heard before of allegations of Muanazi as well as his unit or members of his units, that is the Specialized Services Unit, allegedly being involved in elements of crime, including to the extent of murder in a case of extortion gone wrong, allegedly. And we are hearing of the evidence regarding the donating of vehicles from Vusimuzi Matlala's private security firm to the city of Ekurhuleni. We're also hearing about how the MOUs and the subsequent letters that followed it, from the vantage point of his, I guess, expertise and the regulatory framework, rather, that informed the agreements or so-called agreements that Muanazi purported to have had with Vusimuzi Matlala's company. He's saying that all of those particular instances and flags informed the decision rather to suspend. And he also goes into great detail to explain to the commission why the conduct or the alleged misconduct by Muanazi was problematic with respect to the city of Ekurhuleni, with respect to the donations, for example. We're hearing evidence that Muanazi attempted to formalize the so-called agreement between EMPD and Vusimuzi Matlala's private security firm, that is CAT VIP Protection Services. But he goes into great detail, that is Nciza, to show that the conduct or the alleged conduct of Muanazi was all in a bid to cover up what they allegedly knew was unlawful and not allowed and not supported by frameworks. He also goes into the MOUs agreements to show that the city of Ekurhuleni, or any city rather, has those provisions for EMS and has those provisions for crime combating operations, which are guided by legislation. And it doesn't make sense, or rather it is not legally sound, to now state that you need an extra need, or there's a gap that could only be filled by a private security company. He continues to tear into those, I guess, attempts made by Muanazi to clear up or allegedly cover up what was clearly going to be exposed following that media inquiry by investigative journalist at News 24, that is Jeff Wex, who uncovered that there were these particular vehicles that were being registered allegedly under the city, and of course allegedly being fitted by blue lights by Muanazi. But of course what we're hearing there is that, from Nciza's point of view, that all of this alleged cover-up is not the core, I guess, area that the Commission must also look at. What they must also tend to is the underlying root of what was intended with that agreement, or so-called agreement, with the donation of the vehicles. What is it that Vusimuzi Matlala's private security firm was supposed to do with those vehicles? Because we are understanding that although there was a registration process that took place in the city, the vehicles themselves involved remained in the care or the property of Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. So it means they were still operating under that private security firm. And we've already explained that when you have blue lights, essentially what you do, Unati, is that you clear the way for these vehicles to do whatever they wish to do and without any interruption, because the understanding is that these are vehicles registered under the city and these are vehicles that belong to a law enforcement agency. So again, what is being suggested there is that there was a risk of those vehicles being involved in elements of criminality and would have been able to get away with it because of the protection of the blue lights. He goes extensively into the process or attempt to discipline Muanazi in the face of all of these serious allegations and the kind of barriers that followed such an attempt. First, he deals with the fact that there was, a remark that there was an iPad probe and they didn't want to create a parallel process in terms of that, and that they needed to wait because there was an imminent arrest that was going to follow. However, after some time, we do hear from Nciza that they had decided, in light of the allegations, to extend the suspension of Muanazi in the face of these very serious allegations that he was facing, understanding that it would not be appropriate for him to return to work until these allegations were cleared up. But what we understand is that this was followed by the consequences, and we keep hearing about this recurring theme of consequences that would follow, initiated allegedly by the former city manager, Dr. Maphanga, if anyone dared to try to touch this Brigadier Muanazi. And what we're hearing is that there was a phone call made to Nciza by Dr. Maphanga, and he alleges that it was a very hostile, very personal call, and that she lambasted him allegedly for trying to pursue or continue with this suspension. She immediately demanded allegedly that he be reinstated and returned to work within the next day. So that effectively killed off any attempt that they had to try and suspend him. And then subsequently, when they tried to charge him while he had just returned to work, that was blocked off as well, which prompts the question in many people's minds, as well as the Commission's bench, as to what is this alleged relationship or alleged proximity, let's put it that way, between Muanazi and Maphanga that prompted her to go to such great lengths, allegedly, to shield him from any form of accountability in the face of very serious allegations that places not only him, but his unit in very serious allegations of abuse of power, of murder, of cops who did not want to be vetted, and of persons who could have brought that city to disrepute and on a path of destruction. We don't have a clear answer yet, Unati, as to what was the nature of this need by Dr. Maphanga allegedly to protect this particular individual and to ensure that so many people were actually eradicated from the EMPD system just for this one person to survive, just for this one person to thrive. We know that as we speak currently, or as of yesterday rather, he has been suspended, but in that period he was able to return to work, he was able to thrive, and actually nothing happened to Brigadier Muanazi in the face of those allegations, which is quite an indictment on the city of Ekurhuleni. We even understand that he was promoted following that period where there was an attempt to investigate him. So certainly more questions from Muanazi himself as well as Dr. Maphanga as to what was the need that informed this protection or shield that was allegedly afforded to Muanazi in the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. The hearing continues at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, when Nciza is expected to continue with that evidence and the consequences that followed the probe, when he also is one of those individuals that was subsequently suspended, and he states or alleges that he was later dismissed a year later without a hearing. Over to you in studio.
Canny, Maphanga, thank you so much for that wrap. Of course, the wrap of the Madlanga Commission today, it continues at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Today, of course, hearing from the former head of employee relations in the city of Ekurhuleni, Xolani, Nciza.